good to get right into it, right? I feel like it'll be uncomfortable, but I feel like everything after that will just be growth.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is? Talking to you guys, about Ready to Love. We're dealing with Tyrone, and we're dealing with also Kheri. Did he mishandle Kheri? Well, in some shape or form, I feel there was a little bit of mishandling in the era of this word aggressive. I don't like this word aggressive when people are not really being aggressive. Maybe she was over asserting herself. Maybe she was doing a little bit too much. Maybe she was being too forward, but aggressive is quite the word that's loaded, especially for Black people in this generation. So let's discuss a little bit more going forward on this show. So if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the what up loads. And for those of you who are returnees, you got the minerals, you got the minerals. Stay hydrated because the streets out there are hot. You get me? All right, cool. Let's get into the video. So let's play this clip a little bit more.
Okay. Right. So I like the fact that you showed genuine interest in me, right? So then a lot of things just started to go downhill with the aggressiveness and
let me know about the
Now he talks about, he said a lot of things went downhill with the aggressiveness. I think what he's really trying to say in this moment is when I felt like you over asserted yourself, and that's where I was starting to get turned away. Because when he begins to explain what he's saying, that's not aggressiveness, right? But that word aggressive is very loaded for Black men and Black women. So if a woman started calling me aggressive, I'd be offended because I know the loadedness of aggressive. And I can understand why Kheri would have been apprehensive and defensive when you call her aggressive. I've not seen anything from Kheri that speaks on aggression. I wouldn't even call Camille aggressive. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she might be a little bit aggressive with the way she's coming on to Cornelius, but I wouldn't even call her necessarily aggressive. So to use the word aggressive, I think is a very loaded word in this scenario, right? Let's have a look more what he's saying.
let me explain.
Okay.
When he said, you came at me aggressively, I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, well, let me have his moment because he's obviously uncomfortable.
And that's the key thing. He is uncomfortable. He's socially awkward, and it's been a very difficult situation to explain to her. Now, the thing that I find fascinating is that when he originally had a conversation, he didn't discuss his issues directly per se at first in totality with Kheri. He discussed it with Shiloh. So she heard this information from Shiloh. That's the problem. I don't know if he's aware that the information from Shiloh got to Kheri. I don't know if he's aware. And so it's she's coming with a certain level of energy in this conversation because she's hurt, frustrated with the fact that obviously you told another guy. I'll be pissed if you're gonna tell another man that you don't like me, so the man can tell me whilst I'm in competition with that. Don't take me for a mug round here, cause you know what I mean. I wouldn't be too happy either. So I can understand where she's coming from.
At the mixer towards the end, I did get someone else's number, and like through the corner of my eye, like I can see like a little bit of body language, may have looked like disappointment.
Now, I'm not going to say that his observations are wrong. I think he saw what he saw. He saw maybe he saw Kheri being a little bit, I've got competition. I thought, maybe that's what she was thinking. Maybe her feeling some type of way about other women liking you. I hear that. Listen, it gets at that in competition. Again, I think that's completely different to even how Camille's acting. I use her as a barometer for the show to show you how someone could be very, you should say, possessive. I don't think we're getting that energy from Kheri. Maybe you might have saw some. Maybe she might have shown some disappointment, the fact that you got someone else's number. Maybe she felt like, I didn't know if anyone else was going to be in competition with you, and that can be. Sometimes some people are not good with competition. Some people are just not great with competition, and it shows on their face. But again, nothing really here so far is speaking to aggressiveness.
Okay. And I started to notice some things about you and how you show your feelings. To me, it just kind of made me uncomfortable.
Let's go back to you saying the aggressive.
So actually, when he ended that particular point, he said about how you showed me your feelings. That's not aggressive. That's the problem we're having right now. And now you're going to have to answer for it because you've used that word. You should really just subtract it and say, do you know what? I made a mistake. Aggressive was the wrong word. I felt like you were over asserting, or I thought you're overstating, or, I thought at points in time you were saying some things that I wasn't ready to hear yet, or something like that. But the word aggressive is loaded. Again, let's continue on.
Part, because I don't like that word.
Okay.
I showed interest in you.
Okay.
It wasn't aggressiveness. Just like Shiloh gave you her number, it's the same way I gave you my number.
Okay.
So again, we're getting this a bit more information. She's explaining, hey, the aggressive situation. I want you to understand. I gave you number. Shiloh gave you her number. And what she's explaining here, what I'm hearing in the background of this conversation is, there must have been a conversation that's been had behind the scenes, is where he's then seeing her overstepping for him or being too forward for him. And then he's then making it, going back into his mind and going, hold on, what are the other signs that I see before that? Oh, I saw her at the mixer, and that's why she was. Now it makes sense to me. I think that's what's happening with him.
So it's the same thing.
Okay.
But I didn't feel any type of way because I already knew she liked you.
Okay.
You can keep talking.
Yeah. And then you asked me about my date. 12:30 that night, I get the text from you.
Okay, so she again has highlighted the fact that, okay, cool. Myself and Shiloh both gave you our numbers. It's not like you asked us for our numbers. So why are we both not labeled as aggressive? I think that she's kind of inexplicitly kind of saying. And then to go on to the next part, which we're going to talk about, where he talks about how actually you were asking me about my date. And it sounds like there's a problem with Shiloh. And there is, because obviously Shiloh knew some information before she did, right? But this is where the culmination of the conversation is heading to, this particular direction.
Question, ... Are you still interested?
Mm-hmm.
So I see it the next morning. I don't have that answer first thing in the morning.
So she asked a question, are you still interested? Why did she ask, are you still interested, if you gave the number? I'm guessing, unless it wasn't much of a conversation, maybe she was kind of thinking, we haven't really spoke much. Are you actually interested? But the wording he said, it was, are you still interested? Meaning that there was some interest registered and he's aware of the interest. That's why he's saying, are you still interested? Because there must have been a conversation. Now we've got this problem, because he said obviously he couldn't answer that question so early in the morning. Okay, we could have answered it in the afternoon. What's that got to being aggressive? You could have asked that. You could have answered that question in the afternoon. You could have left it, answered that at nighttime. But aggressive comment is a bit weird still.
But I just felt like there's really no good time to say that I like more people than you.
And that is what you should have been saying, not saying she's aggressive. Because now what you've actually kind of done is, you've kind of thrown in another complexity, which doesn't really hold any gravity in the situation. You don't necessarily think she's aggressive because you haven't been able to explain it. Nothing that he said has explained where she has been aggressive. It's only been a case of the fact that she asked a question, are you still interested? Maybe she was being too forward. Maybe she was being too fast. But where's aggressive coming from? Okay. And now you're saying, obviously, there had never been a greater time to be able to tell you, I like other people. You're right. There is no other better time than that. And she was, and I guess obviously, what I would take from it is that obviously they were having a conversation on the phone at the time. I remember she said that they spoke and he was a little bit cold. And I remember at the time I said to myself, I'm not going to shut down necessarily his aggressive comment. I don't want to shut it down all the way, because we were open to see his comment saying that he was cold on the phone. And I remember, I think Life of Bodge on our panel was saying this as well. How else was he going to say it? Like, it might have sounded cold because the information you heard wasn't to your liking. And so the same way also too, he's also stating how he felt that she's been aggressive. I don't want to shut it all the way down. If both parties are saying he was cold, she was aggressive, I got to look at it from both kind of perspectives here. We don't really know the full situation because we only heard from their own lips about a conversation that potentially was probably longer than what we're seeing. In that particular measure, I am looking at it and I'm going, okay, this conversation was painful because she felt rejected and he felt like it was hard to tell the story of he not wanting her. But he should have told her rather than telling Shiloh. That's honest truth. I want a copyright situation. You know the one's there, bruh. You know the one's there. Hold on. Let's get it back.
No good time to say I like more people than you.
You could have told me that morning. I absolutely have not been giving you pressure. I have been showing you interest.
Now, the key question is this. What is your way of giving interest? And do the men receive it as interest or do they receive it as pressure? And I said this as well earlier on. Remember the Dante conversation with her? I said she made that joke about, do you want me? If you're making such comments in conversation and you are not of the ilk of attraction that these guys are considering, they will see it as pressure, right? I'm not saying it actually is pressure. They'll just see it as pressure because, like I said, you view things differently to when you're attracted to somebody, right? Now, I don't know if she's fully pressuring anybody. From what I've again heard of her conversations, it doesn't seem like she's necessarily pressuring people, but the way she spoke with Dante, like I said earlier on, I was like, oh, that little joke there, baby, that ain't gonna go down too well, baby. And now Tyrone's also saying, listen, during that conversation, you showed some particular antics that I'm not really feeling. Again, it's not a complete story. I don't think we got a full handle on this. Until we interview them during the course of the season, we're not going to get a full story. And I would love to get a full story on that situation. Let's watch a bit more. Oh my gosh, I clicked off it. Sorry, guys. I clicked off it. Let's come back. Sorry.
You could best handle.
I'm glad these characters were revealed because I knew I don't need to put my energy into this at all and to kind of switch my mindset on the person who I was connecting with.
I won't say anymore. Let's leave it there. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded.
Little black book. You know what time it is.